Hello and welcome back to Sorare. Adam here, and today I'm going to be going through some information on Ultimate Champions. I'm going to be showing you my recent signings on Ultimate Champions, my thinking behind the signings as well, and also be sharing my squads for Ultimate Champions. If you do like this video, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you don't want to sign up to Ultimate Champions, there is a link in the description below and you will get a free epic card after spending $20 on packs. So if you do want to try it out, guys, appreciate you using that link. I will get some free stuff as well on the back of that. Okay then, so as I say guys, today I'm just going to be going through some of my recent signings and then I'll be showing you my squads and my thinking behind these signings as well. So here we go then. I've on my collection here. I've got a decent collection score now of 1,970. As you can see, I've got 356 commons, 97 epics and 10 mythic cards as well. Now I've ordered the collection by new to old so you can see all my latest signings. So the first signing I've gone for is Dan Neil of Sunderland. He's under 21, this guy. Under 23, sorry, so he's going to be going into my under 21 side as well. He of course plays for Sunderland. George Miller was actually a reward. He plays for Doncaster. I decided to keep him because I do need some forwards in some of my squads, which I will come on to shortly. I've also got Austin Trusty, who was another reward as well. He plays for Birmingham. Looks another decent option. I think he's on loan from Arsenal, so he's probably worth keeping hold of as well. Fairly young as well. Another sign I've made is B. Wright of Sunderland. He's a defender and I have got a Sunderland goalkeeper, so it made sense to buy a defender for Sunderland. Of course as well, I've also got Dan Neil, so I've got a bit of a Sunderland stack coming together now as well. Which explains the signing of Pritchard. He was looking really cheap. He's a midfielder for Sunderland. He was looking really cheap, so I thought I'd snap him up as well. He is decent when he does play. I don't know if he's currently injured or out of form or something like that, but he is a fairly decent player when he does play, gets those 90 minutes. I've also signed a forward for Sunderland, off a Lion as well. Not the best scorer really, but I have got some Bolton players in terms of midfielders, so it made sense to have a forward in there. He was probably the best one for Sunderland at the moment. He's looking really cheap as well, not that old, so I thought I'd snap him up. Another player that I've snapped up for my under 23 side is Harrison Burrows of Peterborough. Looking fairly decent. He has got some history of some decent scores as well, this guy, so I thought I'd snap him up for my team. I've also gone for Matthew Pearson as well. I think he's recently returned from injury for Huddersfield. Now I know Huddersfield are at risk of potential relegation, but I don't see that as a bad thing because obviously the Division 1 is covered by Ultimate Champions, and I would expect Huddersfield to perform much better next season if there was to get relegated. Nevertheless, Pearson is still performing pretty well. As you can see in his first game back, he scored 138, and I think it was in a 1-0 away win as well this game. I've also been making some signings in the Romanian league as well. One of them is Miha Capatina. He plays for Universitatea Craiova as well, of course, in the Romanian division. So he looks a decent option. As you can see, he's got some decent scores recently as well in his last 5. So he's going to be a good one when the Romanian league does come back. I've also bought Billy Mitchell as well, not the guy from EastEnders, the Millwall midfielder. As you can see, he's got some decent scores, so he was another good purchase as well. Because I've got some midfielders for Millwall and also some defenders as well, plus a forward, so I've got a bit of a stack going for Millwall as well. I've also signed Hippocapi for Bayer Leverkusen. Now he's an under 23 player, and I've also bought another defender in terms of an under 23 player for Bayer Leverkusen as well, which I'll come on to shortly, and that was one of the reasons there for buying him. So I've got a bit of a Bayer Leverkusen defensive stack in the under 23 division. I've also bought Ronnie Lopez recently as well for Troyes. Okay, Troyes not the best team. I think he's on loan. I can't remember what team he's on loan from, but I think he has got potential to be a decent player on the scoring matrix on Ultimate Champions. He was on cheap as well, so I think he was a good pickup just for that reason. And if he does stay at Troyes, I think he's on loan, like I say. Don't know if he will stay at Troyes, but if he does and they get relegated, he's probably going to be one of the good scorers in the French League 2 come next season. Josh Campbell was a reward. I've decided to keep him to get a bit of a Scottish squad together just in case it's a special weekly. tournament on Ultimate Champions, where it's just the Scottish divisions. Got Tom Bradshaw, picked him up, looking really cheap. He's not the best forward, but he is capable of getting those peak scores now and again. And of course, I have got some other Millwall players as well. Bought Scott Fraser as well for Charlton, and Charlton is another stack that I'm looking to get. So I've got a few Charlton midfielders and also one of the forwards as well. So Scott Fraser made sense, one of the best scoring players for Charlton. Back to the Romanian team, and I've signed Denis Elibek, who plays for top side for Hull. But generally he is a good scorer, does score quite a few goals as well, and the Romanian team league does return soon as well. Another Romanian player I've gone for is Damiscan. Now I bought him for the under-23 division. He plays for Voluntari. As you can see, he's got some decent scores as well. I've also signed these two players for Blackpool. So Blackpool is another team that I'm looking to get a bit of a stack on. Yes, again, they're potentially going to get relegated. But if they do get relegated, that's only going to potentially improve the scores of those players on Ultimate Champions come next season. So I've gone for Kenneth Dougal, he looks really cheap. And also Corbinho as well, although I think he's on loan from a team and potentially now, I think he's actually gone back to Wolves. But it was really cheap, so I thought I'd snap him up. I've also got Scott Hogan for Birmingham, one of the few forwards that I could find. He was recently injured, but it looks like he did come back recently. I don't know if he just come on as a substitute in this game, but he has got a history of some good scores, so I did buy him for my forwards. I've also got Gary Medine as well, carrying on the Blackpool stack. He's a forward. He's not the best forward in terms of scores, but he is capable now and again of getting those good scores, some goals in the back of the net, that sort of thing, when Blackpool do have an easier fixture. I've also got Daniel Grimshaw as well for Blackpool. He's the backup keeper now for them. He has been rotating with the other keeper for Blackpool, who I've also purchased recently. I've also recently bought Dragus Negdeklu as well for Hull, who are top of the table currently. Obviously he can link up with Elibek as well, now he's back from injury. So that's going to be a good little combination there in terms of an attacking stack for Hull, who are currently top of the Romanian league. Another youngster I've signed is Petrilla recently. Although it is rumoured that he could be on his way out of Cluj, I think he's potentially going to make a transfer. I can't remember who he's linked to, but I think there is a possibility of him moving. Hoping not though, I'm hoping he does stay at in the Romanian league. I have purchased him for the purpose of the under-23 division. Recently signed Andreas Cordia as well for Steaua Bucharest as my for another option for the under-23 team. Ross Graham was another one that I've signed for the under-23 team for Dundee United, although it looks like he's been dropped to the bench recently, which is a bit of a shame. Bakker is another one that I've signed for the under-23 team. He's going to link up with Hipping Cappy for Bayer Leverkusen as well. So I've got two under-23 defenders there when the German league does resume. I've also signed Poku as well for Peterborough, another under-23 talent. He's a midfielder. He's looking a decent option as well for the under-23 side. Signed Johnny Russell for Huddersfield. Again, he's one that's got previous history of some decent scores. He was really cheap. I have got a few Huddersfield players as well. And with Huddersfield potentially getting relegated next season, coming at the end of the season, I think he's going to probably improve next season. And it does look like a decent talent as well, young player. Yeboah is another talent that's looking good. Again, he's been linked away from Cluj. As you can see, he plays for the same team as Pittarella. So I'm hoping he doesn't transfer anytime soon though. I'm hoping he does stay in the Romanian league. But again, he's another one with under-23 team in mind. Grimani and Popescu are another two players with the under-23 team in mind as well. Of course, he plays for Steaua Bucharest, Popescu. He can link with Cordia. And Grimeni also plays for Hull. Of course, we know that I've also got two players for that team as well. Kim Pano is another player for the under-23 side again. He plays for Craiova as well. Obviously, we know I've already got some players from that team. Edwards is another one for the under-23 division, a defender this time for Peterborough. He can of course link up potentially with Poco in the Peterborough side in that under-23 team. Conor Bradley is another one for the under-23 division. He plays for Bolton. I have got a few Bolton players, so it made sense to snap up Conor Bradley, who's got some decent scores, especially his last match where he's got 193. A defender in the Romanian league that I've snapped up is Igor Armas. He's around 35, I believe, this guy, but as you can see from his scores, he's got some fantastic scores. I think he's got quite a fairly decent contract as well at voluntary, so hopefully he's going to stay for another season at least. But he will be getting some good scores for me when the Romanian League does return. I've also got the goalkeeper as well for voluntary, so it made sense to get a defender. I've also signed up Bayer Leverkusen's Kerem Demirbay as well. Capable of some peak scores on his day. He's not always a starter, but when he does start, he's going to be a good player to have in your arsenal, especially if they have got a good fixture coming up. Of course, I've also got a couple of other Bayer Leverkusen players as well, so it made sense to add Demirbay when he was going for a very cheap price, around $5. Nis Cully was a reward. He's a goalkeeper in the Romanian League for Sepsi. Made sense to just keep him, because I do need a backup goalkeeper for the Romanian division. Also signed Jack Marriott as well for Peterborough. Now, he's not been playing recently. I don't know if he's injured or something or out of favour, but he did have a history of some decent scores up front there for Peterborough. As we know, I've also already got some Peterborough players, so it made sense to snap him up when he was going cheap. Chris Maxwell is the other Blackpool goalkeeper I've got. He's the first choice for Blackpool at the moment, seems to be anyway, so I've snapped him up as a first choice keeper for them. I've also snapped up Ekabeteta as well for Blackpool. Fantastic defender, this guy. I think he's the captain as well. He was looking really cheap, so I did snap him up there for that defensive stack for Blackpool. And as I say, if Blackpool get relegated, even better, because potentially a lot of those players are going to be scoring a lot better come next season. I've also signed Bayo Saka as well for Arsenal. Don't think we need to introduce this guy. Really good young player. He's going to fit into my under-23 team. Wallace was another player that I've signed, a mythic one actually. He was looking really cheap. He has got a history of some decent scores as well. Don't think he was on the best of form when I signed him. As you can see though, his scores have improved recently. So I snapped him up for Millwall. I have got some other Millwall contingent in my squad, so it made sense to sign Wallace. Another player I've signed for Bolton is Aimson. He's done absolutely fantastic recently. I have got the Bolton defender and some other Bolton players, as with George Johnston as well as another Bolton defender. So I've got two Bolton defenders there, plus the Bolton goalkeeper. On to the French League then. I've signed two players here for Toulouse. As you can see, a nice defensive stat there for Toulouse. These were the two best players I could find at the right price. They have of course got a young player as well in the Toulouse defence. He was too much for my liking. I did prefer Nicholson. He was looking a bit more of a bargain. So a nice stat there for Toulouse. And I've also signed Nichols as well for Huddersfield, although he didn't play the last game. I think he's injured though currently potentially, but it's again another one that can go with my other Huddersfield defenders, and one that could potentially improve next season if Huddersfield do get relegated. Carrying on with the Toulouse stack, I've also purchased Van den Boomen, who's obviously one of the best players on Ultimate Champions. There has been rumours that he could get transferred away, but I'm certainly hoping he stays at Toulouse, or maybe moves to a better team than Toulouse, so we'll see what happens there. Martinelli is one that I've purchased to link up with Saka in my under-23 team, so I think he's looking a really good purchase there. One of the most expensive signings that I've purchased here in the Epic category, but I think he's certainly going to be worth it. Also signed Ivan as well to carry on my over stack, so he's a forward. I've got a couple of midfielders for that team. He's a decent forward as well on his day. As you can see in his last game, he got 209 points. I've also got a bit of a QPR stack going as well. Lyndon Dykes is one of those. Not the best player as you can see from his scores, but again is another one that could be capable of some decent scores when QPR have a decent fixture, potentially at home. And I did have a few of their midfielders, so it made sense to buy a forward card. And he was going cheap as well, so next to nothing really from him. Tom Lees is going to obviously link up with the Huddersfield goalkeeper I've got as well, Nichols, and if they do get relegated, like I say, even better, Huddersfield's scores should improve. Leeds is a really good option anyway. As you can see here recently, he's got a score of 190. We've also got Sam Field for QPR, really good player him, got some fantastic scores considering the poor form that QPR are in recently. I've also stacked up G Saville to go with my Millwall midfielders and defenders that I've got. He's another good purchase there for my Millwall stack. Josh Windass, one that I purchased, looked like he had previous history of good scores. More recently, he has been on good form as well, as you can see, including a 341 point score in his game before last. So he's another good forward there for Sheffield Wednesday. I do have some midfielders Sheffield Wednesday already, so it made sense to get a forward. I've also purchased Clark Harris as well. Now he's not been on the best form recently, but as we know, he was on fire at the start of the season, so I wouldn't bet against him getting back to that scoring form for Peterborough. We've already seen that I've got some other Peterborough players as well, so he was one of the main men that I've been after for quite some time, and his price has come down with the poor form that he's in recently, but I think he's going to be really good long term. We've also signed Andre Etienne for Farul as well, to link up my other Farul players that I've got. Farul are currently top, and this guy in midfield is one of the best players in the Romanian league, so he was a really good signing. Another Craiova player that I've signed is Scriskiu, who's going to be a midfield option in my under-23 side. As we know that I have got a few players from this team as well, so it made sense to buy this guy, looking really good as well in terms of his scores for an under-23 player. I've also signed another defender as well for Voluntari in the Romanian league, and that is Mastricardi. As we know, I've got the defender for that team as well, so this made sense to get another player in the defence there. So I've got a nice defensive stack there for Voluntari on a favourable fixture. I've also signed two midfielders from Cluj as well, that is Ajay Boateng and Carlo Moha. Both fantastic players, both scoring really well, as you can see from Boateng's recent scores. And this guy, I don't think he's been playing, but I think he's been injured or something like that. But I do expect him to get some game time when the Romanian League returns. I've got a nice stack there for that team. I've also signed Jonas Tam and Radunovic as well for Steaua Bucharest. Really good stack here for one of the best teams in the Romanian League. Both really good scorers as well. And I've also got Darius Olaru. Now this guy was actually a reward, but he's obviously going to go well with the rest of the Steaua Bucharest players. I also signed Callum Hudson-Odoi and Nicolas Pepe as well. Pepe plays for Lille at the moment. I think he's on loan from Arsenal. He's not doing the best at Lille, but he has got a history of having some good scores. So I thought I'd snap him up, look really cheap. Callum Hudson-Odoi also looked really cheap as well. He plays for Leverkusen, and as we know, I've got a few Leverkusen players, so he was looking at another good option. So that was all the recent signings, guys, that I've made. I was going to say I've got some other players, but I bought these quite some time ago now. But there was all my signings. So let's have a look at my squads then at the moment. So I have done a bit of a spreadsheet here for Ultimate Champions. So I've got all my players here on a list here, including the position, the age, team they play for, league, the rarity type, if the first team as well or not, the contracts, and also the Real Forte score here when I did this spreadsheet. I've also got a few notes like risk of relegation, potential promotion, which I'm not hoping for. For any teams that have got a promotion, I'm not wanting them to get promoted, because obviously they're going to be in a tougher league. There's a few that are risk of relegation, but like I say, that's not a bad thing, because if they do get relegated, and they've potentially got a chance of improving their scores next season, as long as a lot of those players stay, of course. So let's go on to my teams then. So I've got the under-23 Epic team then. So most weeks this is what it's going to look like. So I've got a bit of a stack there for Bolton in defence, and I've also got a Bayer Leverkusen stack as well. In midfield, a bit of a mix and match really in terms of the players, but I have got a link up for Craiova with Scrusu and Kimpano. So there you go, a bit of a stack there for that team there in terms of attacking stack, and also an attacking stack for Arsenal as well. And these players here are the backups for this team, just in case any of these players do get injured. Under 23 beginner team is going to probably look like this. Patterson in goal. Got Edwards as well for Peterborough. Graham for Dundee United. He's not been starting recently though, unfortunately, so hopefully he can start getting back in starting lineups. Mitchell for Sunderland. Mitchell for Millwall. Neil for Sunderland, and Albie Morgan for Charlton. I've also got a few backup options as well. Global Epic is probably going to look like this most weeks, so we've got a Toulouse stat there in defence. We've also got Millwall and Blackpool player as well. In midfield, I've gone for 2 Sheffield Wednesday players and 2 Cluj players as well, and also the fantastic Van den Boomen. Up front, I'm going to go with Compagno. He's going to be my mythic card in this team, and also De Belgiu for Cluj as well to link up with these two. He's currently injured, but he has got a previous history of some fantastic scores, so he's going to certainly come in useful when he's back from injury. I've also got a few backup options as well. Global beginner is probably going to look like this most weeks. Nichols in goals for Huddersfield. I've also got Ricardo Santos for Bolton as well in defence. Tadao for Troyes. Artian for Farul. Clark Harris for Peterborough. And Ivan for Craiova as well in this beginner team potentially. I've also got some decent backup options there as well. Now I've also done some stacks for the different leagues in Ultimate Champions, because sometimes in the tournaments they do have a league specific tournament. So they could have a tournament where it's just Romanian players or English players, things like that. So I have started to do a bit of a stack for those sort of occurrences as well. So this is the Romanian team. As you can see, I've got a nice voluntary stack there for the Romanian, and I've also got Tam as well for Steaua Bucharest. In midfield, I've got another Steaua Bucharest player and a Cluj player in Diek and Petrilla. And I also need to sign this guy from Ferrul as well, who's on the shortlist, Tudor Baluta, but I've not managed to sign him yet, but he's one that I'm looking to buy. Then I've got Alibek in defence to link up with Baluta, and also Damascan for Voluntari. As you can see, it's a bit of a stack of voluntary players here as well. Plenty of decent backups as well if they're needed in this team. But of course I can also use these players as well in any given game week in the Global Epic if I need to, if they've got a favourable fixture. I've also got a bit of a League One team as well put together. So James Belshaw is one that I need to buy, Bristol Rovers, for a goalkeeper option there. And also William Fawkes for Chef Wednesday as a potential backup option. But the first team is looking like a bit of a Bolton stack in defence, and Peter a defender there in Frankie Kent. In midfield we've got a bit of a Charlton stack with Fraser and Dobson. Got Jack Taylor in midfield for Peterborough and Sheenan as well for Bolton. To link up with Sheenan, I've got Afolayan for Bolton, and Jack Marriott can hopefully link up with Jack Taylor if Marriott does start getting some game time. I've also got Jayden Stockley as well for Charlton, who can link up with Fraser or Dobson. Stockley's not been playing recently though, but he has got a previous history of some good scores. And there's also a couple of Charlton players, some forwards, that are on my shortlist that I may look to purchase in the future. Some decent options on the bench as well if needed. I've also done a championship team as well with Blackpool defensive sat there. I've also got a Huddersfield and Sunderland defender. In midfield I've got 3 QPR players in Field, Chair and Wilcock. I've also got G. Saville as well for Millwall in midfield with Luke and Nyan for Sunderland. Up front I've gone for Lyndon Dykes, makes sense with having so many QPR players. And I've also got Medine for Blackpool. And these are the backup options if need be as well, or rotating depending on fixtures, that sort of thing. So I've not got a Premier League stack at the moment. French League One stack, I've only got Ronnie Lopez at this moment in time. Scottish one, I've only got Josh Campbell, but it's not a priority really to get these because there might not be any special weeklies for these divisions at this moment in time. I thought it made sense to make some League One and Championship stacks because there is some decent players in those divisions, and of course I can use them in my Global Beginner and Global Epic if I needed to be, and also in my Under 23 and Under 23 Epic as well, which is going to be the main priority for most weeks. Is going to be the Global Leagues and the Under 23 leagues. So as you can see guys, I've got quite a collection now on Ultimate Champions, some decent players there. Of course I am sharing you guys how I'm getting on with this this team in the coming weeks. We'll be sharing my awards and results, that sort of thing. So here is the gallery valuation as well at the time of recording guys on UC Helper, which is a fantastic website if you want to look for some players or look at your gallery value. You can do it by just typing in your manager name in the search bar at the top. As you can see here, it's saying that my gallery value at the moment is 42,142 champ, which equals to around $3,000. My most expensive card was Barry Bannon, fantastic signing that guy, cost me $92, and the card with the highest value at the moment is Abdelli for Le Havre, who's for Angers, who's going for around $245. But yeah, he's a really good youngster, this guy, going to be a really useful card in the future. So that was it guys, that was my collection at the moment on Ultimate Champions. I'm hoping to get some success with this team, some nice champ in the wallet, and also hopefully some more epic cards, and even that some mythic cards potentially, but that's if you finish first in the epic divisions. Okay guys, thanks for watching. As always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you do want to check out Ultimate Champions, maybe start your collection, you will get 11 common cards when you sign up using the link below. That means you'll be able to enter the league mode in Ultimate Champions, where you have a chance of winning an epic card every single game week. You'll also get a free epic card as well if you use the link in the description when you spend $20 on the packs on the pack store on Ultimate Champions, which can be found here. using this link as well really helps support this content as well in the future. Okay guys, thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you again soon.